Hello everyone and welcome to another News Coolum video and another plug side chat. In today's video, I want to talk about something, on a more positive note, something that I consider to be the biggest strength of electric vehicles. And, I know it gets kind of lost in the mix with all of the other advantages that electric vehicles have, whether it be the lack of maintenance, the lack of noise, harshness, and vibration that you get while driving, the lack of pollution. All of those other things are really important factors, right? The ability to refuel, create your own fuel using your rooftop with solar panels. All of those are huge advantages. But there's one area where I think electric vehicles have such a huge advantage and it gets sort of lost in the mix, and that is the regenerative braking. I think it's really easy for us to overlook just how important that is. And for the longest time, I was doing research into possibly doing a do it yourself electric vehicle project where I built my own. And most of those systems require DC motors, and it's really hard to get regenerative braking. And the sort of consensus is that regenerative braking adds about 10 to 20% to your range. And considering that batteries are heavy and they're really the most expensive component in the electric vehicle, uh, th- being able to go 10 to 20% farther with the same battery is a huge deal. And that's all enabled through regenerative braking. And there's so many advantages with it. It's almost hard to list them all. uh, you're going up a hill in a gasoline powered car, you waste all of this extra energy building up potential energy, and what do you get out of it? Well, you get a free ride down the other side of the hill, but that's about it, right? You don't actually get any of the extra energy you put in back. So with regenerative braking, you do, and that's a really big deal. And it kind of goes farther than that, though. Um, one of the worst aspects of pollution for any vehicle isn't necessarily the gas emissions. Even gasoline powered cars, uh, their gas emissions can actually be limited to just basic greenhouse gases, just basic carbon dioxide, and while we do need to be abating that as much as possible, uh, the bigger issue is actually particulate matter that gets kicked off, and in particular, brake dust is one of them. So Nissan, they estimate that their e-pedal or regenerative braking will reduce the need for friction brakes by as much as 80%. The one pedal driving in the Bolt EV, I haven't heard numbers on it, but I'm pretty sure it's at least that, if not higher. And so reducing all of that particulate matter that goes into the air, uh, that really helps in an urban environment. There are places in California like San Joaquin Valley where COPD is like the number one killer, right? The number one cause of death is COPD, and a lot of that has to do with particulate matter in the air. And so if you can reduce that with the reduction in brake dust that goes into the air, in addition to all of the other sort of pollutants that come out, that's a huge advantage. And just to show you, or to kind of demonstrate, in my opinion, why regenerative braking is just as powerful as it is. uh, even F1 cars use it. They have something called a KERS, which is like the kinetic energy regenerative system. And sometimes it uses mechanical devices, but more and more they're actually using electric motors with the capacitors or batteries to store that energy, because it's such a powerful advantage. Coming out of a corner, you have all of this extra energy that you just regained from braking that you can use to accelerate really, really hard. So it's very much a performance enhancer. In my opinion, it's it's really the thing that makes hybrid vehicles and plug-in electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. It's the one thing that actually gives them a competitive advantage over internal combustion engine vehicles because the relative small amount of weight and complexity that you add far outweighs the benefits of being able to regenerate miles of range, reduce brake wear. The Chevy Volt, one of the first that came on market in North America, that's a plug-in hybrid. A lot of Volt owners, even after 100,000 miles, have never replaced their brakes. Uh, so just cost of brakes and maintenance alone, it helps. And then, of course, you're getting all of those other advantages. And I think we're going to see regenerative braking leveraged even more in the future. I think we're just now scratching the surface of the advantages we're going to see. And in particular, I'm thinking of things like the Tesla Semi, right? Because they have their battery plant up in Sparks, Nevada, and they have their manufacturing plant in Fremont. Well, there's about a 4,000, 4,500 foot elevation change. And just the potential energy that you build up, and this is around average, right? There's probably a technically correct answer for this, but it's around 3 kilowatt hours for every 1 ton of weight that you lift 1,000 feet in elevation. So you're looking at a huge amount of potential energy that you build up by taking this semi up, 4,000, 4,500 feet, loading it up. So you have this loaded semi coming back down the hill with 80,000 pounds. That's after the losses. So say you're only 70% efficient in your regenerative braking, you're still recouping over 300 kilowatt hours of energy. That's essentially enough for that semi to make that entire trip from Sparks, Nevada back down to the Fremont factory for free, right? And that's a huge advantage. And it's going to allow us to start moving energy around. Remember, because our cars are basically energy storage devices. Most of the time, yes, we're just using that energy to drive, but we can also transport it around. Uh, with vehicle to grid technology, it allows us to actually be rolling, battery storage systems. There's a quarry truck that they're experimenting with, I believe, in Scandinavia. It actually, because it's going up a hill to gather the rocks and come back down again, it's actually generating energy that can be used to power other things. We're starting to see a transition of our ferry fleets to electric, and there's no reason they can't be parked off in channels or moored or anchored in channels where there's a fast velocity to the water. Uh, those electric motors themselves could just recharge overnight if there's no ferry schedule at nighttime and they just run during the day. So we're seeing, you know, this is something that's going to be able to be leveraged even more in the future. Personally, yeah, I think regenerative braking is probably the single biggest strength of an electric powered drivetrain. Let me know what you think. For me, like I said, I wanted to do a positive video just to you know get the electric vehicle community sort of uh, looking on a positive note. And yeah, let me know what you think about regenerative braking and if it's not the biggest strength of electric vehicles, maybe what you think is. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And yeah, have a good one.